Hi, this is Willie Nelson from NORML. For 30 years, NORML has provided a voice for the millions of Americans who smoke marijuana responsibly. More than 500,000 Americans are arrested each year for smoking pot. These are ordinary citizens like you and me, whose lives and careers are being needlessly destroyed. To learn how you can help, contact NORML at www.norml.org or call toll-free at 888-67-NORML.
And distributed by the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in Washington, D.C. This is your daily audio stash, the growing truth about cannabis. Welcome to the most popular audio podcast regarding marijuana in all of America and all the world, featuring interviews with scientists, politicians, doctors, prohibition policy activists, regular cannabis consumers, musicians, and NORML staff and NORML's board of directors, along with music and comedy no other podcast can offer. You can always find out more about the show at our website, NORMLAudiostash.com. We're ending marijuana prohibition with education, one listener at a time. Welcome back to NORML's Daily Audio Stash. Today, it is Friday, September 14th. I'm your host, Chris Goldstein. Take a moment to join us at NORML today to help end marijuana prohibition in America. Just visit norml.org to make your donation or join NORML today. We have a great show for you here today. Tomorrow is the Boston Freedom Rally. Today's our final warm-up. We're going to have some special podcasts and live event audio from the Boston Freedom Rally. The weather is looking beautiful for tomorrow's event, so I'm sure there's going to be a big crowd out on the Boston Common. We've had some great music in the past, and today we're going to have Herbal Nation, who were playing at the Stony Awards last year in New York. We've got some Herbal Nation music for you today. They're playing tonight at the Bullfinch Yacht Club. It is an open to the public event. If you are in the Boston area, you can see Herbal Nation perform live tonight. Also in the program today, Bill Downing from MassCan and our CelebStoner.com update from Steve Bloom, who will also be at the Boston Freedom Rally. Keith Strupp, Alan St. Pierre, and Ron Fisher from NORML's office in Washington will be on the square at the Boston Common. If you're going to be at the event, make sure you stop by and say hi to National NORML. NORML's Daily Audio Stash will be there as well, so make sure to come up and say hello to the NORML booth. Next week here on the Audio Stash, we'll speak with Chris Hermes from Americans for Safe Access, talking about the protests happening after the dispensary raids there, especially in San Mateo, California. Also in the program next week, author David R. Ford. He's written a few books on marijuana, including Marijuana, Not Guilty as Charged, and also Good Medicine, Great Sex. We've featured David here on the program in the past. He'll be on a panel regarding senior citizens and marijuana at the 2007 NORML Conference. The conference is coming up quick, folks. There are links to it at normlaudiostash.com and on the main norml.org homepage. Make sure you link up and get your reservations for the hotel there in Los Angeles. It's going to be a star-studded event for sure. Rick Steves will be there. Tommy Chong will be there. And, of course, then there's the High Time Stony Awards that Sunday, which is always a good celebrity draw. So if you have a chance to make it out to the 2007 NORML Conference, it's definitely going to be one to remember there in L.A. Let's dive right into our audio stash today. Let's start things off with our CelebStoner.com update.
I want to be famous. I want to wear minks and satins and pearls.
Steve Bloom is the man with his finger on the pulse of celebrity stoners around the planet. You can read all these stories and marijuana news on his new website, CelebStoner.com. We have links to it at normlaudiostash.com. Steve, welcome back to the Audio Stash today.
Thanks a lot, Chris. How you doing?
Doing very well today. Way looking forward to the Freedom Rally tomorrow on the Boston Common. There's a lot of stories up at celebstoner.com this week, Steve, starting with the headline, Dodd doesn't dodge Maher's pot question during debate. That was definitely a surprise wild card question on the part of Bill Maher and a surprise answer on the part of Chris Dodd during that mashup there for the candidates.
Yeah, well, Chris Dodd, who was one of the numerous Democratic candidates for president, this debate was known as the candidate mashup, and it was just online. And Charlie Rose was the host, but they allowed Bill Maher to kind of step in and offer some what they called wild card questions. Well, you kind of knew it was coming with Bill Maher. And interestingly, he saved it for Chris Dodd, the Connecticut senator, 5-term senator, and he basically asked him, will he legalize marijuana? And Dodd's answer was kind of surprising. He said, we're cluttering up our prisons, frankly, so I would decriminalize or certainly advocate as president the decriminalization of statutes that would incarcerate or severely penalize people for using marijuana. That's a pretty good stand. And then he backed up just slightly by saying, I want to be careful, and I know there are a lot of people across the political spectrum who would just totally legalize it. I don't go that far. So it's good to know that he thinks there are a lot of people who would totally legalize it. But legalization is kind of like more or less the same thing when you're talking to a politician like Dodd.
Right on. And with all of the medical marijuana activity in New England this year, Dodd is somewhat playing to his own constituents.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But, it's interesting he would take this stance. I mean, he didn't have to. And I think, 4 years ago, you wouldn't hear any candidate dare, step across the line for decrim. Right now the litmus, test question has been, would you, make medical marijuana available for patients, or would you stop the raids on federal patients, especially in California? And all the candidates have been on that side, and Dodd included. Plus, Dodd has supported a medical marijuana bill in his own state that didn't pass. The governor turned it down, but it's not that surprising. But the candidates have to distinguish themselves, and this is one way for him to do it.
Now, there are also a lot of sports stories up there, Steve. Justin Reed, Sean Williams. Seems to be a lot of NBA players getting caught with marijuana lately.
Yeah, there is a little spate of marijuana arrests in the NBA, and it's interesting because there haven't been very many in a while. Ever since the NBA started drug testing, that really dropped down the number of arrests. I mean, a few years ago, about 7-8 years ago, all the big stars like Allen Iverson were getting arrested pretty repeatedly. And I'm not saying that they don't still smoke, but they're probably a lot more careful about doing it and being careful about knowing when the drug tests are coming and cleaning out, maybe using drug test products, to clean out. But in this case, there were two players who were not the best known players. A player named Sean Williams, who plays for the Indiana Pacers. He was stopped in a car search, pretty much the standard stop. He made, a traffic violation, rolled down the window when the police came. They smelled pot. There was apparently a burning blunt, or just a blunt that they were putting out that was in the ashtray. And so he was arrested for that, and also, another person in the car. There was a gun as well. The other person who was arrested last week was Justin Reed, who plays for the Rockets, and his charges have been dropped. He got arrested down in Mississippi, but they've since dropped the charges. But nevertheless, it's sort of leading in the direction again that NBA players are starting to get arrested for marijuana. That's not a good thing, obviously, but it indicates that the players do smoke as they had in the past. And actually back around the time before drug testing, there was a poll that there were as many 70% of the players in the NBA admitted to smoking marijuana, and I'm sure that number hasn't decreased significantly. They just probably figured a way around the drug testing.
And in other sports news, Steve, you're the commissioner of the New York Media Softball League, and the High Times Bong Hitters had a huge win this week.
Yes, this was very exciting. Now, many people who know me know that I was the coach of the Bong Hitters for a lot of years during my years when I worked at High Times. And I didn't start the team, but I kind of ran the team for a lot of years and was one of the founding members of the team. And the Bong Hitters, the High Times softball team, started in 1991. And only this year did we decide to create a league, and it was kind of my idea, along with some of the other coaches, to create a little bit more of a structure for the games that we would normally play against each other. But we didn't keep records. Of course, we kept scores, but nobody really quite knew who was doing what and how well teams were playing until you'd sort of show up and see each other on the dime and say, "How's your season been going?" But now this year we started a league, and the league was a 6-team league, a New York Media Softball League, the NYMSL, and so obviously it's for media teams. That's TV, print media, internet media, radio. And so the teams that joined the league this year were High Times, Wall Street Journal, WNYC Radio, Business Week, DC Comics, and Trader Monthly Magazine. So the way we worked it out was that we would play a playoff. The top 4 teams in the league would qualify for the playoffs. And so last Saturday we all got together at in Central Park, the Heckscher Playground. First time ever that we've done this, and we played a round robin, series with the 2 semifinal games. The 2 semifinal games starting, simultaneously, and those 2 games were Business Week, who had the best record in the league. They had run the schedule. They were 10-0, and they were on a record tear of 34 games in a row that they had won, so they were really tough to beat. They were certainly the favorite, and they were playing DC Comics, who were the 4th seed, and they beat DC Comics in the first game 19-2, which is sort of typical of Business Week, blowing out a lot of teams this year. Second game, or the game of the 2 and the 3 seeds, was High Times versus Wall Street Journal. Both teams were 6-4 during the year, very evenly matched, and they proved to be very evenly matched in this game. Wall Street Journal had taken a 5-1 lead into the 7th inning. As people know, softball goes 7 innings, not 9. High Times was the home team, so they got up in the bottom of the 7th, down by 4 runs. They proceeded to knock in 4 runs, tying the game. Danny Danko knocked in the tying run. And the game went into the 8th inning, and they had beaten Stock, tripled, and he was knocked in by Abe Sachs, and that was the winning, run. So, a shocked Wall Street Journal team, left the field, really, despondent. I mean, everybody takes it, like a good sport, but, obviously it's a tough loss. And they had another game to follow that. That was the consolation game against DC Comics. Meanwhile, Business Week came over to the field where High Times had just won. The High Times team was pretty jubilant. I really did count them out by that last inning because I think they really knocked in the winning runs with 2 outs. So they really were down to like match point. And then the second game, they also had an early deficit where they were down 5-1. The High Times team just got a little sloppy in the field both games, let up a few runs, and weren't hitting. And then they had a 2-run homer in the 4th inning to make it 5-3. They went into the bottom of the 6th inning, and they knocked in 5 runs. The big hit was Nico Escondido, one of the guys up at High Times who does the Grow articles, and he had a 2-run triple that was the winning, hit. As it turned out, they went up by 8-6. They then in the top of the 7th inning, Business Week had their last shot. They only put one runner on base, didn't score any runs, and High Times emerged the winner of the entire tournament. They took the title, the first ever New York Media Softball League champion. But the way they did it was just phenomenal. And then after that, it was such a great day of softball actually out there on the diamonds. So Wall Street Journal goes across the field to play DC Comics in the consolation game, and they're not in the best mood, I suppose, and they're hanging their heads, and they're down 8-0 early in the game to DC Comics. And then they start, then it was 9-2, and by the last inning, bottom of the 7th, they were the home team. They were down 11-5. Well, guess what? They scored 7 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning to win their game 12-11. So 3 out of the 4 games were decided by come-from-behind rallies in either the next to last inning or the last inning. So it was really an exciting day, just for softball fans, anybody sitting around watching, but especially for those of us, put this league together. And then, personally for me, a long-time supporter and, manager and coach and player for the Bong Hitters. I've stepped away from the team. I'm running the league now, but obviously, I was certainly, rooting for the green team, and I was very proud of them. All the guys and women on the team, they just did a terrific job. So it tells you something, that the High Times team could knock off the financial, sort of like Goliaths, Business Week and Wall Street Journal. Everybody's friends. There's no animosity between any of the players, but, the High Times guys and women sit around, they smoke, they drink, they party throughout, and they go out there and they win. So it kind of tells you, marijuana maybe is a performance-enhancing drug when it comes to softball.
Especially when going up against the Wall Street Journal. Very cool stuff up there, Steve. And a big, big congrats here from the Audio Stash to the High Times Bong Hitters, the new champions of New York Media Softball. Also, Steve, you've posted at celebstoner.com some kind of sultry photos of actress Helen Mirren. Mirren is a very accomplished actress, 3-time Oscar winner. Her most recent Oscar was for her role in the movie The Queen. But the photos you have are from an early acting job in a little-known movie from the late 60s. You also have another post up there from her memoirs. She's recalling her days smoking pot and dropping acid in London in the 60s as well.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, but Helen Mirren is 62, so she's of the age, a little bit of the baby boomer age, and she's British, and during the late 60s, early 70s, she lived in a house, kind of what we would probably call a hippie house or in a commune style, and she's recalling all of this in her memoir that's just out called In the Frame, and it was picked up by some of the British press earlier in the week or over the weekend, and so we quoted that at Celeb Stoner, and the fun quote was that she said. Here's a quote where she goes, "It was like a cross between a country retreat and artist convention and a traveler's camp where she lived. She says there was constant dressing up, animals everywhere, champagne occasionally, and gallons of wine. The boys loved dressing in drag, and the girls as nuns or tarts. There was also drugs, of course, marijuana mostly. A picture from those days reveals my one and only acid trip, a walk in the country, and the end result is clear to be seen in another photo, an unscheduled commune with nature." Actually, I don't know. Maybe those photos are in the book. I didn't see it. But as it turned out, went around digging to find some photos of Helen Mirren from that time. And she was in a movie called The Age of Consent, 1969, with James Mason. And it's a movie I'd never seen, but the story is basically, and it's set in Australia, where she's a young woman who's in Australia, and he's an artist who's struggling with his work. He hasn't really been able to paint for a while, and he meets her, and she becomes his muse. And in the process of the movie, she basically disrobes so, he can, do his still life paintings of her and stuff like that. And then, a good friend of mine out of the marijuana movement, Michael Aldridge, so I saw the little piece that that we posted on Helen called Helen the Hippie, and he sent me these great photos that I'd never seen from that movie of Helen naked. And so I posted that, and it's been kind of what you might call runaway success on the site. I've had a big boost in traffic over the last couple of days. It got picked up by FARC, and actually, just in the particular area they call Flubies, which I guess is for boobies. But it's FARC, and there's a lot of readers out there for FARC. So basically, the shot of Helen, she's lifting off a shirt. I mean, it's very tame stuff, honestly. But you do see her breasts. You do see her from behind, her butt. There's another shot of her kind of with her hands in front of her breasts. There's another shot with a couple of women lying on a beach with James Mason. It's fairly tame stuff by today's standards, but nevertheless. People on the web are always looking for these sort of fun photos, and I guess we stumbled upon something, that people wanted to see. So once again, I want to thank Michael Aldridge for sending it my way.
Well, Steve, this has been a great update here today. I'll see you in Boston tonight at the Bullfinch Yacht Club to see Herbal Nation play, and looking forward to a really nice freedom rally with great weather out there on the Boston Common tomorrow.
Yes, I hope the weather stays well. I'm in New York now, and the weather from New York usually heads up to Boston. It's a beautiful day here, so most likely it'll get the beautiful weather we have now tomorrow and through the night. For Friday and Saturday. And just, I recommend anybody in the Boston area, you probably don't have to be told because this event's been going on for so long, that everybody knows that the third Saturday of September is the Boston Freedom Rally. You go to the Boston Common, you spend the day, you listen to bands, you listen to speakers and speeches, you visit all the vendors and, chat and maybe buy a few things. You learn, you educate, you enlighten, you're entertained. It's a fun day. And the one thing, obviously, people should be warned about, the police don't think it's so much fun, and they tend to like to arrest pot smokers during the day, so you have to be careful. Don't get arrested at the Boston Freedom Rally.
Right on, Steve. Thank you again for joining us today.
All right, Chris.
Steve Bloom is the man with his finger on the pulse of celebrity stoners around the planet. You can read about it all and some marijuana news at celebstoner.com. We have links to it at normalaudiostash.com. Stay tuned. We've got some Herbal Nation music coming up next.
You're listening to NORML's Daily Audio Stash.
76% of Americans no longer support arresting and jailing marijuana smokers, and nearly as many support the medical patients having access to medical marijuana. And over 80% of our citizens now believe the war on drugs is an ineffective failure. So the question is, when will the government's misguided war on adult marijuana smokers finally end? When? Simple. When you and your like-minded friends, family, and coworkers get involved with an organization such as the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, also known as NORML. My name is Keith Stropp, and I founded the organization in 1970. Contact us at NORML, toll-free, 888-67-NORML. or by visiting the organization's up-to-date webpage at www.normal.org.
Herbal Nation is the recipient of a Global Marijuana Music Awards, and they are a really great band. They played at the Stony Awards last year at B.B. King's Blues Club in New York City. Tonight, Friday night, at the Bullfinch Yacht Club in Boston, you can see them perform live. Here they are in their live performance at the Stony Awards.
They're fucking amazing, seriously. You're really going to enjoy this.
Let's welcome to 42nd Street in Manhattan, New York City, Herbal Nation!
Woo!
When it's coming to my cheddar, I ain't playing them games. Bump dudes, dance, screaming fuck hoes, stud hoes. Stay tricking with them buck hoes. Dudes, put the money up the fuck hoes. Then they talk about they don't trust them. I'm a rider chick, can you find a chick? Better keep her own stash, never blinded. Jersey girl for the world, be a grindin'. Hit the ad for the cash, fuck a rhyming chick. I'm a climbing chick, hot timing chick. But if you looking for the ass, I'm a diamond chick. Sativa, that chick is the name, verbally heard in the game. Sativa, that chick is the name, verbally heard in the game. Sativa, that chick is the name, verbally heard in the game.
Sativa, the name, verbally heard in the game. Come on, what?
Sativa, that chick is the name, verbally heard in the game. Herbal Nation.
We heard in the game.
Yeah, you got the funk. Herbal Nation. Give it up for Herbal Nation. Yeah.
Herbal Nation there, playing at the High Time Stony Awards last year, and they're going to be on stage tonight in Boston at the Bullfinch Yacht Club. More information about that is available at masscan.org. That's MASSCANN.org. Have you ever wondered what Amsterdam is all about? Don't just read about the culture that has accepted cannabis. Experience it firsthand with CS Travel's Sensible Amsterdam Tour with NORML. Travel to one of Europe's most beautiful cities this January for an educational and recreational visit to a city that regulates cannabis like alcohol. CS Travel has arranged an exclusive visit for reform-minded Americans that includes a private tour of some of Amsterdam's most renowned coffee shops, educational seminars with coffee shop proprietors, local law enforcement, members of the Cannabis Retailers Association, and NORML staff. Entertainment includes a special evening at the Boom Chicago Comedy Club, canal tours, visits to the city's many museums, including the world-famous Van Gogh Museum. Don't just wonder about Amsterdam, experience the beauty and freedom of this unique city firsthand with CS Travel and NORML Sensible Amsterdam Tour. Pricing information is available online at coffeeshoptravel.com. That's coffeeshoptravel.com. Or call toll-free at 800-816-1846. That's 800-816-1846. Be a sensible American. Visit Amsterdam with CS Travel and NORML this January. Call 1-800-816-1846 right now to book your trip. More information is available at normal.org. This has been NORML's Daily Audio Stash, the growing truth about cannabis. Visit our website at normalaudiostash.com. If you listen to the Audio Stash, vote for us at Podcast Alley or other podcast directory services. I'm your host, Chris Goldstein. Thanks for listening today. Everyone have a fun summer weekend out there, and we're back at 4:20 on Monday. The podcasting technology of NORML is made possible by Red Aphid Interactive Media. More information at redapphid.com.